Hi, I'm Laura from Off the Record, and I'm a team manager in participation and engagement. And today we've got,
Hi, my name's May, and I'm a placement student currently at Off the Record. And part of my role is being a peer representative for university students. And also, my pronouns are she/her.
oh, well done, you got it all in there. And now we're going to present a PowerPoint and we're going to discuss what you've been up to on your placement, what you've been doing as a peer rep, and what you learned and what you want us to take away from it. So, give me a second while I get this up. Okay, so this is you, May, right at the start.
Yeah.
How did you find out about placement?
Placement. So I was already volunteering with Off the Record as a peer navigator, and I was quite close with Tidra, who also runs Saturday hubs at the moment, and Tidra was doing the placement I'm doing right now, and I spoke to Tidra about the placement at Off the Record, and I found that I was already volunteering at Off the Record, so I thought what a great opportunity to carry on the work with Off the Record. And also I just think being on placement is such an invaluable experience, so I thought I might as well give it a go.
Nice. And you've been absolutely amazing throughout this placement, and I think that's one of the things what recruits people into placement is word of mouth. Is the key thing, isn't it? Nice. So we move on to your first slide. So your progress Off the Record. So can I ask what you've been involved in as a peer rep for uni students?
So for university students, I've been kind of going out to both universities, so University of Bristol and UE, and kind of trying to speak to students about their likes and dislikes of the current mental health service available at their university, and kind of figuring out what they kind of would like to see in either off the record external services or their own university services. And how I've been doing that is basically I've been hosting kind of like pop-up stalls at each university. So in University of Bristol, I hosted like 2 exam de-stress workshops, which kind of involved like different de-stressing activities. So I had like a self-care tree, which is basically where students would kind of write down exam de-stress tips and put it on the tree, and then they would take one of the leaves for themselves, so they were kind of helping their own well-being as well as helping others.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is the idea of doing these pop-ups and doing a bit of getting a bit of feedback didn't come to you straight away. It was quite a difficult start, wasn't it, to your placement and trying to work out what to do. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It was kind of like more about me navigating my role at Off the Record. It was quite difficult to know like what to do, and kind of being a student, I kind of thought, okay, what do students actually kind of want to participate in? So I had to kind of really delve into what a student would like to see. But I think being on placement, it gives you a lot of independence, which I found at first a bit like, oh, I want someone to tell me what to do. So I would say that was the tricky part.
Yeah. I remember at the start of placement, it was that it was, oh, here's an action plan. What would you like to do? Where would you like to go? What community group would you like to reach out to? And how would you like to do that? At the start, having those conversations, it was quite unsure and a little bit. It was difficult, wasn't it? And then you had the other sort of edge to the rule where it was very hard to get into universities to deliver work, but also there was loads of different like stuff happening from different departments with OTR, so it all felt really messy and really confusing at the start.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It was really like, I want to say messy and just kind of like a forest of like different trees, and I didn't know where to go or where was the finishing line, I would say.
Yeah. And then fast forward a couple of months, you've done some, just as you mentioned, you've done some great work with creating pop-ups and getting feedback from students and trying to create these conversations. And I guess the main thing for you in your role was you was looking at a what was available to students and making that more clearer to
Mhm.
students, and then B trying to collect feedback so off the record could improve what their offer is to students.
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
nice. So okay, so through all that, what have you learned?
So I guess what I have learned, like from a volunteering and placement perspective, is just overall like experience of actually working in a professional environment. So what I mean by that is kind of like learning how to manage my time. Just because at first, like you said, I found it quite difficult to kind of manage my role and kind of like manage my own time in regards to like my part-time job and also placement as well as like social life and university commitments. So I would say I've definitely learned in regards to time management skills and like also the importance of like setting personal boundaries. So I felt really overwhelmed with a lot of work and like speaking to my various support networks, I found that actually it's important to say no to some like extra commitments. And I put the boundary in as only having like 2 meetings a month, which was really, really nice to kind of like unwind and actually reflect on all the meetings I had rather than continue to keep going to lots of other meetings.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say I've learned from like a professional perspective. And also I've just learned like various admin skills like answering emails and phone calls. And also I've learned how to communicate with parents and young people through like solution focused approach and like the use of active listening skills.
Brilliant. And I think there, there's a lot to say about in terms of skills as a professional in this role because you're just given your own, look, you're basically given your own sort of project, aren't you? And you're just
Mm.
asked to think about what is it that is needed, and then it asks you to go off and find creative ways to sort of speak out into that community. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of like leadership,
Mm.
being a self-starter, and managing your time is something that we definitely spoke a load about, haven't we? And that it is that thing about once you got into the universities, you could have booked yourself back to back every day with meetings. And it was very hard at first to set your boundaries and go and actually know what is important, what is needed, what is not necessarily
Mhm.
needed. But now you've managed that quite well.
Mhm.
Nice. And then there's other stuff you learned as well as in terms of what students want and need. Do you want to quickly touch on that?
Yeah, of course. So in regards to like my peer representative role, I learned a lot about students' feedback on the mental health services at university and kind of what I learned through, I want to say, hosting my own workshops and pop-up stalls is that students' engagement to mental health services, like and the workshops that are being put on at universities is actually quite low.
Yeah,
Like some students wouldn't actually attend the workshop or even engage in the workshop for quite a long time. So that was quite interesting to learn. And also in regards to like students' likes of mental health services, they like the fact that some workshops are student led. So what I would say about that is that students really like the fact that it kind of normalizes talking about mental health because they realize that actually, okay, other students are feeling like this also, so it's okay to talk about it and it's okay to attend this type of workshop.
yeah.
Um,
Can I
yeah,
pause you there? With through your pop-ups, you had quite high numbers, but there
yeah,
was about 40 or 30 that come and spoke to you. Um,
yeah,
so it wasn't all pop-ups and all workshops that didn't that had low numbers. Um, what with those two workshops that had higher numbers,
yeah.
what was it that made it engaging and what got people involved?
I would say the two pop-ups that had quite high numbers would be I OTR collaborated with University of Bristol Society. So
Nice.
that might be why it brought a lot of quite like high engagement and also location.
Okay. And
I would
say a bit more
say,
about location.
yeah, probably I would say like being in student hotspots. So
Yeah.
like other workshops that I've done which had quite low engagement was in areas which like kind of was bit of like a hallway which was just passing, and the students wouldn't really want to like stop to say hello or like engage in the workshop. But I was in Bristol SU living room, and it was a lot easier to go up to students and talk to them, and they were willing to kind of like put in their time.
Brilliant,
um
fantastic. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I
Um,
guess, sorry.
no, I was going to say, can you hear the vacuum on?
Oh no.
No, that's fine. Okay. We just want to really check what scenes we're recording. So I think that's really two really great points. Is one is about collaboration with organisations that's already engaging with the community, and secondly about where you're based.
Yeah.
Which sort of brings us on to the next slide. Oh no, no, it doesn't. I was going to say about what professionals to take away, which I guess is a couple of slides time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to what you learned about different mental health services. So do you want to say something about this slide?
Yeah, so basically this slide was kind of trying to be a bit interactive with the audience and everyone, and it's basically the big circle is kind of like all the mental health services available at universities, and it kind of is supposed to like help get everyone to kind of guess which service belongs to which university. And if we go on to the next slide, it kind of shows that there's a lot available at both universities for students, but in like the first activity kind of shows you that there's a lot, and it's kind of tricky for students to kind of navigate their way through this. And because there is quite a lot, students are quite overwhelmed and bombarded with all these services, and it's just quite, I want to say, like overwhelming for students to choose which service is most appropriate for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I think that's something that we've talked about lots in our supervision. It's about the navigation of these services. There's something in there about you said as a student that you didn't know half of these was available.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other side, once you know that they're all available, you just don't know where to start, where to navigate, where to go, what. Yeah, so I guess that's something for professionals to take away and think about, is actually how do we work together to provide services and make it really clear what and how young people or students access these services.
Mm-hmm. And I guess just to point on to that is that I understand that both unis have like different access points to access these services via like a registration form, which is all well and good. But from the student feedback that I've received is that some students will fill out the form, but then it's like, now what? What do students do to kind of help themselves whilst waiting for someone else to kind of reply back?
Oh, brilliant. That's a really good point. Yeah. So even in about, actually, it's great to have services and it's great for people to sign up, but actually there should be also something about the ownership placed on the student themselves, so they could do stuff to look after their own mental health. Brilliant. Fantastic. That's a fantastic piece of work. Let's go on to the next. So this slide, what do you want professionals to know?
So basically, what I would say, probably like in regards to engagement, what I've found from speaking to other professionals who have hosted workshops and from my own experience, is that to engage students in the workshops and to encourage students to actually disclose like mental health and normalize mental health altogether, I would say in workshops there needs to be like some form of incentive, just because with students what I found is that students have to be quite selective with their time, because they're juggling their university life, their job, their social life. So there needs to be something in that workshop that provides a sense of like, I want to say ownership or empowerment, to show that their time was actually valued.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and something in there about like the why. So why should you attend this? How is attending this workshop going to help you to go to work or study better? Because that's where people's mindset is at.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I like, and that really nicely brings on to the next point about one student actually popped up and said about advertising during lectures.
Okay,
And
yeah,
just because it kind of really emphasizes that mental health is just as important as studying.
brilliant.
And
Yeah,
And I feel like a lot of students kind of feel like, oh, I can't attend this workshop because I've got a lecture or I've got a deadline. And it kind of like the reason why students' mental health is probably dipping is because of all that exam stress, all of that like managing university life. And yet they can't, help their own mental health because they're so focused on their studying, when actually I feel like lecturers should be teaching that mental health is just as important.
Yeah, and that look after your mental health, then that's gonna, in the long run, help you with your studies and help
Yeah,
you get a good grade.
yeah. But yeah, so I would say for the next one also advertising into student hotspots. So like we said earlier, like location really matters. And also about emails, I would say advertising in emails for mental health services is good to a certain extent, but with students specifically, we get bombarded with a lot of with a lot of emails from lecturers about like academic things. So students tend to not read emails as much.
Yeah,
So I would say just like advertising other places.
any good ideas?
And again, I would say I want to say social media, and something that I've learned in my own university in UE, like advertising student hotspots where a lot of student traffic. So like in cafes, at in UE they have like these little placards or like table cards with all the services, and they're just placed on each table.
Nice.
It's just like a more relaxing space where students can find out a bit more, but without being bombarded.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm always a fan of a poster on the back of a toilet door as well.
Yeah, that's always quite interesting. I do see quite a lot of them when I'm in the toilet. I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. And it's not a usual place where you would look. So yeah, that's a good point as well.
Brilliant, fantastic. What else should professionals know or take away from this?
I would also say about students' mental health needs, like what they actually are, which is basically that students really struggle with feelings of loneliness, and what kept bringing up was like lack of community and cohesion, and um, the struggle with managing university life. So I would say professionals kind of need to try and theme workshops or services around those issues, just to make sure that we tackle them, because those were the mental health issues that just kept being brought up. And also, I would say try and build on peer support. It seemed like when I was speaking to students that they really, really like the impact of peer support and the premise of peer support. It just really it builds the sense of belonging, and it builds the community in university, because I feel like when you're a student in university, you can be seen as just a number, or one like just small fish in a giant pond. So if like university tries to build that community, then everyone will feel less lonely and more likely to reach out to others.
Brilliant, fantastic. Totally agree with all that.
Mm.
Nice. Is there one more slide?
Yeah, so yeah,
Oh,
it's just a slide to conclude about the highlights of my placement. So I would say the highlight was really about communicating to students via the pop-ups. So the exam de-stress, that was really, really fun to kind of like, I want to say, take ownership. Like it was my own pop-up that I designed. I went out and led the workshop, and also it was really, really nice to like create partnerships with universities.
brilliant.
Um, and I would say a highlight was also like building my professional growth. So being more aware of my working style and emotions whilst in a professional environment. Like I learned a lot about my own mental health, and it was really, really like insightful, and I'm really happy that I've gone through this placement.
Yeah, and I was going to say, May, there's been absolutely loads that you've developed, learned. You've got so many strengths and skills in your set now. Your partnership working is absolutely immense. Trying to contact different teams in universities has not been the easiest. And now I see you do it with ease. So that's fantastic to see. Your confidence is grown. That's brilliant. The way that you adapt and create your pop-up shops is absolutely just on the point really. It really is engaging. It's what the students are will engage with. It meets their needs, and then the way that you rally a team around you, you get extra volunteers, other partners to join in these pop-up shops. I think that rallying a team around you is another real big strength that you have. So there's lots to be proud of.
Thank
Um,
you.
so it's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that. I very much enjoyed it. I'm just going to bring you back on my screen. So so thank you very much for that. That's really insightful. I find that really useful. And as I said, you've been an absolutely fantastic volunteer. So what I'm going to say is let's wave goodbye to everybody watching now, and then we'll finish off just a minute. So bye everybody. Thank you.
Bye.